I was reading in Sports Illustrated about Anthony Davis, and he had a quote that blew me away. He was asked, where do you think you rank among players in today's NBA and why? Here's what he said, Aaron.
Uh-oh.
I'm the best in the world. I think I do a lot of things that a lot of players can't do as far as playing a complete game. I can play on the block, play on the perimeter, play defense on both ends, switch 1 to 5, guard, score the basketball. I want to be the most dominant player in the game, and I'm going to continue to do that. He went on to mention guys like Kawhi, KD, LeBron, Steph, all that they're the same. They're great players. They're talented. They're Hall of Famers. But he said he is the best in the world. And he didn't couch it with, everybody thinks they're the best. Of course, I got to have that mentality if I'm going to compete with these guys. No, he just came out and said it. I am the best player in the world. And Aaron Torres, I like Anthony Davis. I can't wait to see him and LeBron James together. I think they have a good chance. Even though I think the Clippers are a little better right now, I think the Lakers have an excellent chance to win a championship next year, certainly within the next 2 years. But I'm here to tell you today, there is no way that Anthony Davis at this point is the best player in the world. And he's right. He's got all those skills that he mentioned. But the best player in the world, how you compare players, is not a checklist of skills. If we did a checklist of skills between David Robinson and Shaquille O'Neal, you might say David Robinson checked more boxes. But who was better? Shaq, period. Impact. What kind of impact do you have on the game? And as much as I like Anthony Davis, as much as he is a two-way terror, he has yet to impact games the way that these 6 players, who I have all of them ahead of him. So I got him 7th. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, James Harden. It's not in an order necessarily. James Harden, Steph Curry, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Anthony Davis has won 1 playoff series in his life. He's been to the playoffs twice in 7 years. And I know he won it out of New Orleans, but guess what? You have to take some of the blame for why New Orleans wasn't better. You had some talent around you. Drew Holiday can play. Julius Randle showed he's not bad. At one point, you had Nikola Mirotic who can shoot. One point, you had DeMarcus Cousins, Rajon Rondo. He had some talent around him. Why wasn't he able to galvanize guys and lead them? And I'll tell you one thing, in today's NBA, Aaron, if you have to be able to handle the ball, and that's the one thing everybody I mentioned can do that AD can't. When push comes to shove, they can bring the ball up the court and create their own stuff. Now, AD can create his own stuff. I know he was a guard in high school before he had his growth spurt. But I don't see him, when necessary, bringing it up court and just spreading it out and running everything through himself. So that's why he's not the best in the world.
Well, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Anthony Davis. He made $27 million last year, but apparently he couldn't afford cable because he wasn't watching the playoffs if he thinks that he's the best player, because Kawhi Leonard, all the guys you mentioned, but I think so much of this argument is exactly what you said. You can't come to me with, I'm the best player in the world, when you've won 1 playoff series your entire career.
Thank you.
In the same year that Kawhi Leonard basically took an organization, a country on his back to a championship, Giannis took, and I know Chris Middleton was an all-star, but Giannis was the guy, took that organization to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'll take it a step further, which is something you already addressed. He's not even the best player in his locker room.
Right.
I know LeBron took last season off. I know he was drinking wine on the bench, but he averaged, I looked it up today to make sure those numbers were correct, 38 and 10 in the finals a year ago, 13 months ago. So I get it. He's a competitor. He's an elite athlete for sure. But you can't tell me you're the best player on the planet when, one, you've won one playoff series. Two, you've only played 70 games more than 70 games twice out of 8 years in your career. I just don't see it. I know he's a competitor. I know he wants to say he's the best, but I just don't buy it.
No, I'm with you. And I like that attitude of, hey, I'm a dog. Like, I want the Lakers to have that attitude when they come out of training camp this year. I don't want to see any, oh, we need this, we need that, we don't have this, we don't, the coaching's terrible. No, be dogs and go out there and say we're the best. And we're going to win the championship this year. So I like that mentality. But in this case, it's just, there's no evidence to back it up. And Anthony Davis he would have been better served saying, hey, I think I'm the best player in the world. But this is all about winning. And until I win big, then I can't be put on that pedestal. That's my goal. That's where I want to get to. But while I may think it, I've got to prove it to everybody else. That would have been something better to say. And he just can't claim it right now. Like you said, this is how I think you can measure who's better when you're talking about individual players. Because it's very difficult, Aaron, to measure perimeter players versus big men. It's getting a little easier nowadays because, and Davis alluded to this in his press conference with the Lakers, it's kind of positionless basketball to some degree. But there still are big differences between bigs and smalls for the most part. And so you can't, how do you compare a Michael Jordan to a Shaquille O'Neal? A Kobe Bryant to a Hakeem Olajuwon. I think the only way you can do it is impact.
Agreed.
And I don't say that's just number of championships, but impact on the game. That's why I think Steph Curry can rank high. Because you can say what you want. He doesn't D up. He's small. He's not physical. This and that. How has he impacted the game?
You know what I think this might be a byproduct of? I think it's a byproduct of playing in New Orleans, where for 7-8 years, everything he has said has just been gone into the wind. None of it matters. Well, now you're on the big stage with the Lake. You can't just say whatever you want to say and not have it picked apart by guys like us, by people, whether it's you on television, others on television, whatever. I just wonder, I think he just kind of said it without thinking. I can't imagine that he actually believes that. And it's not to say that he's not an incredible player. We all know that he is. As you said, there's probably only a handful of guys, 6, 7, whatever the number is, that are truly better than him. But when you factor in the fact that he does play, he's more of a low post player. And I know he said he's more versatile and all that stuff. But, he doesn't handle the ball. He doesn't set up teammates. He doesn't shoot the three particularly well. He's really good at what he does. But to say that he is the best player in this league is preposterous.
Right, because here's the thing. Anthony Davis, as good as he is, and again, he handles the ball well for a guy his size. And again, he played guard in high school. We get that. But he needs somebody to get him the rock.
Agreed.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James doesn't. Kawhi Leonard doesn't. Kevin Durant doesn't. James Harden, Steph Curry, Giannis, they don't. So if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and obviously it was a different era, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar actually won the MVP award in a year where they didn't make the playoffs. And then he had 2 back-to-back years where he didn't make the playoffs with Milwaukee and the Lakers. And the reason, as great as he was, and I have him 3rd greatest player of all time, the reason that could happen to Kareem was because he needed a guard to get him the ball.
Yep.
He was a low post player, obviously, with the sky hook. And AD, while certainly more versatile in this day and age than Kareem, needs a guy to get him the ball. And I think you hit it on the head. That's a great point. We have seen more Anthony Davis interviews, Rachel Nichols on ESPN, Sports Illustrated, the press conference, which obviously that would take place with any team. But he's getting out there more.
Yep.
We're going to see more of Anthony Davis than we ever had. And like you have, and like you said, he's going to everything he says is going to be picked apart, especially since he's playing with LeBron James.
100%. By the way, I think part of that is why, amongst the many reasons why Kawhi Leonard didn't want to play with the Lakers, didn't want to play with LeBron James. It's for reasons like this. But I don't disagree with anything you've said, Chris. I get it. You're a competitor. You want to, and it is kind of his time to kind of plant his flag as being one of those guys because he really was under the radar in New Orleans. Some of it was his own, I don't want to say fault, but responsibility not getting his team far into the playoffs. But I understand the concept. He thinks he's great. He wants to be in that conversation. You're just not there yet, though.
So I've got him 7th. Do you have him in your top 5?
No, I can't put him in my top 5 because, you just think about all the guys that you listed off the top. LeBron, I still think LeBron's elite. I think he's going to have an incredible bounce-back year next season where he shows everybody just how good he is and that we all forgot about him. Giannis, obviously the reigning MVP. Kawhi, what he did in this postseason speaks for itself. Kevin Durant, when healthy, speaks for himself. And I'm with you on Steph Curry. I truly am, in the sense that I've been critical of him at times. I think he gets a little too much love at times. But what he's done, even this year, even though they didn't win the NBA Finals, what he did in I think it was, Game 4, where he put up like 49 points or whatever it was, helping the Warriors sweep the Golden State Warriors. I think those are my clear-cut top 5. If you want to argue AD versus Harden, even though Harden has an MVP, I get it, but I'm with you. He's not in the top 5.
Yeah, I think you can certainly make an argument AD is better than Harden. But again, impact, Harden has carried teams to great records. They win 50-something games. When Dwight Howard was hurt, they still won. Without Dwight Howard, they won. Chris Paul, before, after, they win. Now, they haven't won a title, but they win. And that, he's having more of an impact.
Say what you want about Westbrook.
Anthony Davis.
Say what you want about Westbrook. I know they haven't gotten out of the first round, but he's gotten his team to the playoffs. He obviously won an MVP, averaging triple-doubles.
Yeah, I wouldn't put him ahead of AD, but you're right. He gets his team to the playoffs year in, year out, which AD has not done. All right, your turn to weigh in. We want to see what the listeners think. Is Anthony Davis the best player in the world?
All right, first call, Mark in New Orleans. I'm guessing he is not too fired up to talk about AD. Mark, you're on with Chris Broussard, Aaron Torres, filling in for Rob Parker in the Odd Couple.
Say, Chris.
What's happening?
I want to compliment you. You're the only one. There's very few that I've heard that don't make Anthony Davis out to be God.
Well, thank you. I think God could get the Pelicans to the playoffs more
than twice in 7 years.
And get a game against Portland in the second round. So
look, twice in 7 years.
Or
that's
Golden
ridiculous.
State, I should say. Golden State, I should say that year. Yeah, look, he's a great player, but
right.
And I have no problem with him demanding a trade if that's what he wanted. Fine.
No,
but
neither do I. I just didn't like the way he did it.
He should have taken some of the blame for why they weren't having the success that he wanted.
He's breathing in too much smog.
Too much.
Right. I hear you. Yeah, well, look, maybe the future might be bright down there in New Orleans. Zion's got to drop some weight. Look, if you want to help the Pelicans, Mark, you got to get people in New Orleans not to feed Zion. Because if y'all treat him with that typical New Orleans Creole Cajun love and you feeding him beignet and gumbo and crawfish etouffee and jambalaya and boudin, I'm from there. I know it.
Oh.
That boy going to be 400 pounds by a second year.
You made me hungry right there, Chris. Zion's not the only one that's going to put on a few extra pounds here.
Zion might not be at the dunk in 2 years if he's going to be eating like that.
We at some point we got to talk about those Coach K comments. I was actually the night that Zion debuted in his summer league. The only game that he played was my wedding night actually, and I saw the highlights after, and that jersey was fitting a little bit tight there, Chris Broussard. I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'm not here to criticize, but facts are facts.
Yeah, he wasn't in shape, and Coach K said it as you said. So we got to get to that at some point.
All right, next up we have Mason in the Bay Area. You're talking to Chris Broussard, Aaron Torres on the Odd Couple.
Hey, what's up, Chris? I gotta compliment you, man. I watch Undisputed every day. I love your takes on that. I think that's just great. But anyways, I got Anthony Davis, top 5 player next year. And I think a move that the Lakers made that not a lot of people are talking about is the assistant coach that they stole from Toronto, the championship of the NBA. and I think he's had great coaching with Alvin Gentry, but I think this coach with Frank Vogel will really be a step up, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about that assistant coach move.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got a nice staff. I mean, you also have Lionel Hollins and Jason Kidd, who both had success as head coaches. But for coaching, as important as it is, though, AD just needs to go out and get it done. And if he does that, then he can move into the top 5 for next season. But so far, he just doesn't have the resume yet as far as wins.
I agree. Do you think, real quick on AD, do you think he said this week that he's motivated, not that he's motivated, that he expects to play as many games as he can physically play? Do you buy into I don't know if it's because he's rejuvenated or he has a chip on his shoulder or whatever. Do you think he's going to be out there 72, 75 times? I thought that was an interesting comment that came out of his press conference on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I would love to see players not, as much as I like Kawhi Leonard and obviously was great last year, I'd like to see players not follow that trend of taking 20 games off, 22 actually in his case, for load management. I really would. And look, Kawhi may be a special case. We know he's been kind of fragile throughout his career. So is AD for that point matter. And Kawhi, even with the load management, was a little banged up in the playoffs, you know?
Yep.
And that's one reason he also insisted on playing with a second star wherever he was going in free agency. But if you're not that player, if your body is fine, then play. I mean, Anthony Davis is what, 25, 26?
Mm-hmm.
He should be out there playing. So I'd love to see him play 75 games. And LeBron, he's a different story. Obviously, in his 17th year, he may need a little bit more load management. I don't think any player needs 20 games of load management. I'm sorry.
I agree. I also wonder if the idea that now that the super team era, quote unquote, is sort of dead with this duo era, if guys are going to be more motivated to play just because the disparity between Team 1 and, say, Team 9, 10, 11, specifically in the West, is smaller than it's been. But
Great point. Great point.
We got Kim in Wisconsin, odd couple, Chris Broussard and Aaron Torres on the phone.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you this evening?
We're great, man. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if you remember Floyd Bannister from baseball, but I have a feeling that's who Anthony Davis is going to turn out to be.
I don't.
He was a good pitcher for Kansas City in a small market, and everybody thought, well, just get him on a good team and he'll be great. White Sox traded for him trying to get over the top, and he was just a .500 pitcher. I think Anthony Davis came from a small market. He looked great there because, well, he was their star. Now that he's in a big market and the pressure is going to be on him, I really don't think he's going to be that good.
I can't go with you on that one, Kim.
Player.
I mean, Floyd Bannister, I had not heard of him. I heard of Ken the Animal Bannister.
Okay.
But look, AD, whether he lives up to, whether he becomes a multiple champion or not in L.A., I mean, Floyd Bannister's a one-time All-Star. So he's not going to be Floyd Bannister. He's not going to be a guy that 20 years from now people are like, who? They don't remember. So that's a little harsh. He's going to be a perennial All-Star.
You had those baseball nuggets off the top of your head. You've been hanging out with Rob Parker too much, man. That was incredible.
Floyd,
wow.
I did just a quick reference for Floyd Bannister. I can't tell a lie.
You got the baseball card right in front of you. You could say it. Come on.
I could have claimed it, right? But I would have done that had I not already said I never heard of Floyd Bannister. If I hadn't said that, I would have been like, oh yeah, I remember one-time All-Star.
I wasn't going to call you out for the first
1982.
Woo, great year for him. I remember that year. It was incredible.
It's all right here on baseballreference.com.
Okay.
All right. So the listeners a little bit with us for the most part want to see AD put his money where his mouth is, so to speak. The Lakers GM, Rob Pelinka, he made a strong comment recently. He said, if they don't win a championship, the season is not a success. Your thoughts?
It's kind of the Anthony Davis thing, right? It's the right thing for an executive to say when you have LeBron James and you put all your eggs in the Anthony Davis basket. But this isn't, and I know this is not new news, but this isn't KD going to the Warriors where it would be absolutely catastrophic if this organization didn't win. I mean, you look at the rest of the teams around the league, whether it is the Clippers right in the Staples Center with them, whether it is the Rockets who maybe they figure things out with Harden and Westbrook, whether it is Philly or Milwaukee, whoever in the East. I don't think it's anything close to a guarantee that the Lakers even get to the finals, let alone win it. I like the confidence, but I don't really buy the hubris.
I agree with you. They're not the prohibitive favorites. Again, I think right now I have them second best, and I've got the Clippers slightly ahead of them because I think their pieces fit together better. I think their defense is going to be tenacious. And I think they got the better coach in Doc Rivers. However, I think the Lakers are right on their heels. And, we'll see how the Lakers have more question marks. But if those question marks are answered in the affirmative, then they can beat the Clippers and everybody else. But I say this, Aaron, I disagree with you in that. I agree with Rob Pelinka. And I don't think he was saying, look, we're the favorite, we're the best team out there. But I think he's saying nothing else is going to be viewed as success. This is championship or nothing for us. Like if they get to the finals and lose to Milwaukee, you think the Lakers going to feel good about that?
Well,
like last year with LeBron and those young kids, if they had gotten to the conference finals, certainly beyond that, and lost, I think that would have been a successful season. Even the second round, if you go down in a tough 6 or 7 games to a Golden State or something, that could have been viewed as a successful season. But now you have the pieces, and you're right, it's not there on a silver platter for you. But if you've got arguably the best player in the world still in LeBron, and a guy that says he's the best player in the world in AD, veteran role players around him, versatile role players around him, anything less than a championship is a disappointment.
See, I disagree in the sense, and maybe we can bring in Rob Guerra, our Lakers insider here. I feel like because it's been so long since the Lakers made the playoffs, look, getting to the first round and getting swept by Utah isn't going to make anybody happy. But because it's been so long, they haven't been on the cusp. They haven't even been on the cusp of the playoffs for 6 years or whatever. It's been 5 years. So to me, you got to get there. You got to make a deep run. But I think as long as you're setting yourself up for the long term, for the back half of the LeBron James contract, I do think that fans would be okay with it, especially because you now have another, for lack of a better term, superpower in Staples Center.
Here's the thing, though. And when you go to the Staples Center to a Lakers game, what kind of banners do you see? Divisional? Conference ones? No. You see championships. Is it 16, Rob G? 16, I believe.
16, yep.
And Boston's got 18. Look, LeBron, this might be the back half for LeBron. Who knows? He's in his 17th year. He had a serious injury last year. They have got to win the championship within the next 2 years. I think that's the window. If they haven't won it within the next 2 years, then they won't win it with this group unless they add a significant piece or make a major blockbuster move. So I think they got the 2-year window at least, because LeBron, we don't know how LeBron is going to continue to age. But my point, Aaron, is there's nothing else that's going to satisfy them. That 6-year run out of the playoffs, where are all those players? All of them are gone except Kyle Kuzma. LeBron James has 3 rings. He's a veteran. Anthony Davis is a veteran, even though he hadn't won anything, and he's the second guy on the team. You got other guys, Rondo, a champion, Danny Green, a champion. So, no, it's not. Look, I get it. If they lose to the Clippers in a hard-fought, knockdown, drag-out 7 games in the Western Conference Finals, I mean, yeah, you may have just lost to a better team. But that's failure. This is a team that is capable of winning the championship. Every player, save Elgin Baylor, who has been for the Los Angeles Lakers on LeBron James's level, Jerry West, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, they all have delivered titles. Wilt Chamberlain. LeBron's got to deliver a title. Last year was your little year to play around. Now It's championship or bust. And again, I'm not saying you got to blow it up if they don't win it, but nothing's going to be a successful season outside of banner number 17. Can I get an amen, Rob G?
Amen, Chris Broussard.
You know I'm right. Am I right? Am I right? I mean, you the Lakers fan.
Yes.
Are you going to be satisfied with anything but a championship?
If they go to the Western Conference Finals this year, they lose in 7 to the Clippers, and you feel like they were right there and they could be back next year, and all those guys that haven't played together coming into this year, if that happens, Rob, you will not be satisfied. You're going to go to bed the night of Game 7 saying, I hate this team, blow it up, they make me sick.
No, you're going too far. I'm saying blow it up, but go ahead, Rob G.
Yes, if they do not win the championship, it would be a disappointment. And the reason being, now, Aaron, I was with you earlier when you were saying they hadn't won anything in, so many years, haven't been in the playoffs, haven't been in contention. That all changed the minute LeBron James came to the Lakers.
Right.
As soon as he came.
But they missed the playoffs after he came.
I understand that, but the expectation as soon as he came was they are at minimum contending.
I agree.
And now they got Anthony Davis. Now it's, hey, you can't say you don't have the players anymore. There's no excuse why the Lakers should not be one of the Final Four teams, if not the NBA champions.
Final Four is different than being disappointed if you don't win the championship.
That's true, but when you're a Laker fan, you're expecting to win a championship every season.
Sure. You know what's really interesting to me about this kind of...
Listen to the way he just dismissed that sure. I mean, my goodness.
Who dismissed who?
You just brushed him off like dirt on your shoulder. You dismissed Rob G's opinion.
No.
Sure.
Rob, he's my Lakers insider. Whenever I need something, I go to Rob. But I was going to say, I do think it's interesting. I feel like Kawhi reset the entire narrative in the NBA. And Chris, you know this. Remember when it was, you got to go through your lumps. Everybody, you got to, you're going to lose in the second round. Then you're going to lose in the finals. Then you're going to win the championship in year 3, year 4. Now it's like Kawhi kind of proved if you're good enough, just win it in the first year. I mean, I guess KD and the Warriors did that too, but
they were stacked too.
I know.
So that was look, that's a great point. And not only now or in this current era, but historically, there have been very few situations where a guy has done what Kawhi Leonard did.
Sure.
First year, no other stars. Moses Malone, first year in Philadelphia, they won it. But he had Dr. J, Andrew Toney, Maurice Cheeks, Bobby Jones. They had a great team already. I think they were in the finals the year before, lost to the Lakers. So that was almost not quite what KD did, but very close to what KD did. Actually, it was what KD did. Moses was traded, but KD went to a team that had lost in the finals the year before, and they won it. So great point on Kawhi, but you're wrong on everything else. Okay. It will be a failure if the Lakers don't win it this year.
I just think the West is the earth is too flat in the West, not to use a Kyrie term there, but every you look at all those good teams. I'm not I'm agreeing with you in that they're not I don't even have them as the favorite. And it is not set out on a platter like it was for Golden State with KD, like it was at times for Miami with LeBron. I agree with you there. I'm just saying the expectations and the goals of the Lakers are so high, and rightfully so, that anything less than a title will be a failure. I think we need to clip this off because if they lose in 7 to the Clippers, I think Lakers fans are disappointed, but I don't think it's like sky is falling catastrophe, which is the way that Rob Pelinka set this whole thing up.
All right. Those are the final words of Mr. Aaron Torres. You can rack that. I don't agree. Rack mine too. And we will get to them. Microwave takes later on during the season.